Hi, friends. So Eve is in the background doing his early morning constitution. um, so I had the misfortune of watching Donald Trump yesterday with his, is it CPAC speech, the Republican gathering. And as one would expect, Donald Trump was, it was almost like he'd fast forwarded his campaign to this time and nothing had happened in between. He did not commit acts of sedition against his own country and government. So he's just kind of basically floated through that period and pretending like it never happened. And ironically, on his website, there's still photos of people wearing Donald Trump, Mike Pence t-shirts. Mike Pence is somebody who he encouraged his followers at the Capitol insurrection to lynch, basically. So that was kind of interesting and funny, really, to see those t-shirts still on his website. But anyway, that's Donald Trump. He doesn't have any shame. He doesn't get embarrassed. And as one of his mentors, I think his last name was Cohen, had said to Donald Trump that you should never ever admit that you've been defeated, and you just carry on as if you're always winning. Basically, that was one of his mentors had said that to him. So that's what he's doing, and I don't know what. I just had to change directions here. I don't know what's happening to the lawsuits that are supposed to be pending for Donald Trump, but apparently there are. So, but this is Donald Trump, and he did all the usual. He did his usual shtick of vilifying and blaming migrants in Mexico, and basically implying they're rapists and criminals. And blaming Joe Biden for that situation.
And he wants it to go forward. It's insane. Within his first few hours, Biden eliminated our national security travel bans on nations plagued by terrorism. His first priority was to open our borders to unvetted travelers from Libya, Yemen, Syria, Somalia, other countries where strict vetting cannot occur, countries that have tremendous problems, countries with tremendous terrorism problems. We did a travel ban. It was a real achievement. We told those countries, sorry, straighten out your act. We don't want people coming in where they had an ideology or a problem. We just couldn't have it. And it was incredible. How it worked was incredible. And he terminated it. We had to get it approved. It went all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States. We got it approved, and he terminates it. In addition, he's already increased refugee admissions by nearly 10 times, but in effect, it'll soon be hundreds of times as millions of people flow up through our soon-to-be open borders. And by the way, the Border Patrol and ICEs are some of the great heroes of our country. These are incredible people. I got to know them very well. Your family still cannot go out to eat at local restaurants, but Joe Biden is bringing in thousands upon thousands of refugees from all over the world, people that nobody knows anything about. We don't have crime records. We don't have health records. What are they bringing in with them? When I left office, we had virtually ended the endless wars. These endless wars, they go on forever.
Basically saying that the country's a mess because he's not running it. Also, all the fascist things that you would expect him to say. It's almost like nothing went between when he was last speaking at a campaign rally and now. So I consider that talk that he did yesterday, there's Alia in the background there, I expect this talk yesterday that he did is almost like the beginning of his 2024 run. And you would probably be aware that the GOP have chosen, I think, Donald Trump to be the front runner in 2024 because most of the Republican Party are totally fine with him. He has an overwhelming majority. So you can commit an act of sedition and be totally fine. You don't get properly impeached because the GOP, I guess, could see that they're nothing without him. So nobody was willing to actually have him properly impeached in the Senate. So there you go. That's another thing that any competent fascist can think to themselves, well, you can actually try and, whether it was trying to overthrow the government or just whatever it was, I think it was actually trying to basically overthrow the government and have Donald Trump continue on that, it was an act of sedition, this Capitol insurrection, really. It was quite serious, and it was an inside job, and you can watch the Empire Files. You can listen to the Empire Files Patreon to hear why Abby Martin and Mike Preisner thought it was an inside job. But you can do that. You can encourage QAnon followers and alt-righters and all of that, far-righters, to do something like that, to attack the Capitol building and commit an act of sedition, and you can get away with it. There is no recourse. There are no consequences. So that's a good message for any competent fascist in the wings. If for some reason Donald Trump isn't the front runner in 2024 or 2028, then you can go ahead and do something like that, and there's little consequence. Little consequence anyway for politicians. There might be some consequences for the people involved in it, in an insurrection act like Capitol Building one. But the politicians know. Even Lauren Boebert, I see her on Twitter tweeting every day. She gave the location of Nancy Pelosi. I think she even took a tour the day before, even though that was frowned upon because of COVID. She took members of, I think, people who were involved in the insurrection. She took them on a tour to get a layout of the Capitol building the day before the insurrection. On the day of the insurrection, she said, 1776 or something. She kind of basically, it was like she was making some sort of announcement. And, there you go. She's still in office. Nobody has arrested her. It's just fine. That's a good message to put out to anybody who is trying to knock off their colleagues in Congress, that it's okay to do that. You can get away with that and still continue on getting heaps of money by just spreading hate. And speaking of getting heaps of money and spreading hate, Joe Biden bombed Syria and killed 22 Syrians. He can't give people $2,000 checks. He wavers and basically twiddles his thumbs at the thought of $15 minimum wage, even though that's way below what U.S. citizens should be getting, way below. Apparently, at $15 minimum wage passed the House. It's yet to pass the Senate. Will it pass the Senate? It should, because they have a majority, from what I understand. But will it? And he won't give people Medicare. He won't give the public Medicare for all, even in a pandemic. Even though it would save, the Yale study said it would save $450 billion and the lives of 70,000 extra people if Medicare for all was brought in. And even though he could do it by executive order, as was done in Libby, Montana, when they had an environmental issue and Medicare for all was brought in on executive order, he could do that, but he won't, because he's beholden to corporations, he's beholden to the health industry, health insurance industry, he's beholden to Big Pharma and all of that. So these people are working for corporations, as Status Quo says. It's the United Corporations of America. Anyway, so Donald Trump gave this speech that was basically, he's an insufferable windbag that really is fact-free and is just full of fascist talking points. As I've mentioned before, the U.S., well, it's a failed state, but it's actually has all the 14 defining characteristics of fascism. So Donald Trump really basically runs through almost all the 14 characteristics of fascism in his speech, leaving out some, but they're all there in his mind anyway. And everybody was cheering, and it was completely fact-free, as usual. But then when you see Joe Biden and anybody else that in that administration, when they're talking, they omit important things, which is deception by omission, and they also lie about things as well. It's just they don't do it in such a crass way as Donald Trump. So I see that speech yesterday as the beginning of his campaign for 2024, and I see that it will be very easy for him to romp in 2024 if he remains the front runner. He said it was fake news that he was going to start a third party. I think that he probably held that as leverage and basically may have even indicated, or maybe the GOP thought he was going to start a third party, which would mean the end of the GOP and would mean that the Democrats would romp in the future if there was another party, if the GOP was split in half. So whether they saw the writing on the wall and they thought we better back him up, I don't know. But anyway, Donald Trump, I remember saying he was going to primary anybody that didn't support him in that any of the things that went on prior to the end of his administration. The only good thing I think that Joe Biden is going to do is that Donald Trump definitely wouldn't have done, is that he will probably half-heartedly get a hold of the COVID spread. He won't support the public. As Joe Biden said, nothing is fundamentally going to change under him. And that, of course, means the continuous thread of imperialist wars and imperialist meddling, which he's demonstrated and he could hardly wait to do, which was to bomb Syria. And, of course, the continual saber rattling towards China and Russia. All those things continue on with the permanent government, as some call it the deep state, as I call it the U.S. national security state. That continues on like a seamless thread. Those people in the U.S. national security state, they just bide their time. If a president isn't doing what they're doing, what they want them to do, they bide their time and they find ways of getting rid of them anyway. Silicon Valley and the deep state, I think, weren't particularly keen on Donald Trump because he was too impulsive and too crass. They want a smooth operator like Obama. Biden is not anything like Obama as far as eloquence and style, etc. Obama was a warmonger that increased 2 wars to 7 and did a whole lot of other awful things, but nobody paid any attention because he was an attractive man and he was black and he was smooth, and that's exactly the kind of person they want to front the empire. Donald Trump is not that, and I don't think they could control him enough, and so they all found a way of getting rid of him. Silicon Valley spent a huge amount of money trying to get rid of Donald Trump because Donald Trump was threatening different things against them and threatening their business. Anyway, that's Donald Trump, and we have not, as one expected, we have not seen the last of him, and he will be doing these very popular rallies, I'm sure, every so often to keep things on the boil until the midterms, because at the midterms, the Democrats are going to lose their majority because they're barely going to do anything for people. They're kicking and screaming to do anything that they even promised they would do, like giving people a $2,000 check, which is woefully under what people need. They're basically woefully inept and intentionally so. And so Donald Trump is just, all he has to do really is sit back and give his occasional rallies where everybody is totally happy with him being fact-free. They're totally happy with him with his fascist talking points. QAnon will go along with that, the followers of Q. All he has to do is basically hardly do a thing except do that, and Biden will skewer himself because he'll basically... he's not going to do anything. And as I've mentioned before, I don't think they really care. I don't think the Democrats really care who's in office. I mean, look who they put up as the front runner. As long as that front runner is doing, Biden almost needs like a resuscitation machine keeping him going. And he'll probably be out by in a year or two, and Harris will take over. But look at who they put forward. So I don't think they care one way or the other who's in office, as long as they're serving their corporate masters. As long as their corporate masters are happy, that's fine. They're fine with whatever happens. As is mentioned regularly on Faint Signals from Vega, is that it's just one big party. The duopoly is just one big party, and they work in tandem. Really, it's very clear. I mean, you only have to see things like Kamala Harris giving a fist bump to Lindsey Graham, unhinged Lindsey Graham, who is just an absolutely unhinged warmonger. You only had to see what he was like with Tony Blinken, who is also a warmonger. They're all war criminals. So anyway, that's Donald Trump. We're going to see more of him as time goes by in the next 8 years, which is nauseating. But the Democrats, he is the gift that keeps on giving to the Democrats, because they don't really need to do any Pied Piper strategy anymore like Hillary Clinton was doing with Donald Trump. In the Podesta emails, it was revealed her campaign was elevating Donald Trump because she thought she could easily win over Donald Trump. Apparently, she was a lot worse than what she thought, and she was. And now they have this person that Bernie Sanders can keep saying he's the most dangerous president to ever have been, and we mustn't let him win again. He'll just keep on going on like that. Everybody else will keep going on like that. AOC, who looks like she's also running for something, she also looks like she is a candidate in the future to be president. She's becoming more and more just like the Democratic Party want her to be. She'll be saying how dangerous Donald Trump is. And yes, he is dangerous. But I mean, that's the gift that keeps on giving, because they can always say, you must vote for us because Donald Trump. That's all they've got. They've got nada, really. That's all they have, is vote for us because of X. The useless, and dangerous Democratic Party and the dangerous GOP. That is the SHIT show that the US citizens have to put up with unless they completely realize that they need to dump the duopoly, because it is an ecocidal, anti-people situation. And capitalism, as I say often, and I drum it in because it's important that we keep remembering that neoliberalism is an expression of fascism, and fascism is capitalism in decay, and capitalism is inextricably linked with imperialism, as Lenin said. So we need to remember that these are representatives of this capitalist nightmare that we are caught in, that is coming to an end, I believe, because the US is a failed state, and everywhere on the planet is suffering because of neoliberalism, and people are waking up. So it is coming to an end, but it is, at this point, very dangerous. They're doing everything they can to make sure it continues. If that means fascist rule, then so be it. And that's why we have to organize outside this dreadful duopoly, because US empire is at the center of most of the violence in the world. And we need to be internationalists and highlight that fact and make sure that everybody knows it. Because if we don't address this flailing, dangerous empire, if people keep on allowing this to go on, then we are well and truly done for. Well and truly.